I don't know if you could tell, but I like Fallout. I'm a bit of a fan, as they say. And I don't know what gave it away. Maybe it's my channel name, freaking Lone Vault Wanderer. Maybe it's the over 12 years of being on this platform talking about Fallout. My very first YouTube video. Hundreds upon hundreds of Fallout videos. Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Fallout 76, and Fallout 5 as well. And that is what we are here to talk about today. Because Fallout 5, it seems like a pipe dream for us Fallout fans. We know, given everything, and I'll get into it, but we know we're not getting this freaking game for a long, long time, all right? So when a sliver of news comes on by, we all sit up, take notice, and Fallout 5, let's talk about it, all right? It's okay to get excited every 6 to 8 months. That's okay, all right? So long as we keep our expectations in check. And that's what we're going to try and do here, all right? I want to keep the fanboy out of me just for a little bit. We'll get a bit excited. But I want to talk about Fallout 5. I want to talk about the rumors, the leaks, as I'm sure you've heard, whatever you want to call them. There's some discussion going around today about Fallout 5, apparently the game being greenlit in particular. So I want to talk about the news. I want to talk about where it comes from, what my opinions are of it, where we're going, blah, 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 all that crap. So if you enjoy this video, please like, subscribe. Where does this come from? This comes from my boy, Jez Cordon. I've talked about Jez Cordon many times on this channel. You're probably sick about hearing about it, but Jez Cordon is a cool dude, all right? And he's well known for sharing inside knowledge and info here and there, whether it's on his Xbox 2 podcast with Rand, whether it's in his articles on Windows Central. He's known for dropping some things here and there. And he's dropped something recently that we really do need to chat about. So his podcast, by the way, is linked in the description below. Go click on it, all right? Support his work, and then you can come back here and continue watching my opinions on it. So he dropped a bit of news, you could call it. Let's call it a rumor at this stage, because even he didn't want to go so far as to completely say this story was corroborated and making an article about it and stuff, but he mentioned it on the podcast, and it caused a bunch of people, a bunch of sites to make articles about it, including the likes of GameSpot and whatnot. So I've linked this GameSpot article in the description below, and it nicely summarizes the situation. So I'm going to go through what they say, kind of line by line, and then I'll share my thoughts throughout. This is what they have to say about what Jez Cordon said on Fallout 5 being greenlit. Quote, Fallout 5 has reportedly been officially greenlit and development is moving forward, though who exactly is leading development on the new installment in the series is currently unknown. The report comes from the latest episode of the Xbox 2 podcast, where Windows Central executive editor Jez Cordon discussed how Xbox is handling Fallout as a franchise moving forward. However, he didn't know what studio would be developing Fallout 5, as he believes Bethesda Game Studios' core teams are currently busy working on additional Starfield DLC and The Elder Scrolls 6, of course. Cordon said, from what he has heard, part of the forward push for Fallout 5 and Fallout in general came at the expense of ZeniMax Online's next MMO codenamed Blackbird, which was cancelled as part of Microsoft's latest round of layoffs. Now, first of all, let's clarify the big elephant in the room. Jez Cordon. He's talked about so much stuff in the past that's been corroborated. It should be beyond known at this stage that if he says something that here's what I've been hearing, sources, etc., inside knowledge, news leaks, whatever it may be, like, you should at least sit up and pay a little bit of attention. There's some other leaks out there that you shouldn't pay any mind to whatsoever, right? And if you want to take this with a grain of salt, please feel free, because again, he hasn't fully corroborated this himself. But when he says something publicly, you can at least acknowledge there is some level of credence to it, all right? So what about what he's saying specifically? Fallout 5 being greenlit, but he doesn't know who it's going to be developed by. First of all, the game being greenlit is not like, it shouldn't be earth-shattering news, because we know Fallout 5 is real. Todd Howard's talked about it. He's talked about how there's a one-pager on the game. He's acknowledged its existence. We know that it's going to be a thing. There used to be a day where BGS was like, you don't know what we're going to be working on. We're going to say nothing until the 6 months prior to launch. Do you remember Fallout 4? Do you want to go back to those days? I thought not. So let's just all be appreciative of the fact that Todd Howard, in his grace, is telling us that Fallout 5 is coming at some stage. We might not be happy about when it's coming, but we know it's real. He's acknowledged it. So news like this, rumors like this, which suggest that the game has been fully greenlit, is not surprising, should not be surprising. Now, what do they mean by fully greenlit? Because the game was obviously real in some sort of form before. Again, that was a one-pager. Todd's talked about it. But greenlit is essentially dev slang for saying that it's officially been signed off, all right? They've looked at the concept, it's been pitched internally, it's gone up to the likes of Bethesda Game Studios higher-ups and Microsoft, Xbox, etc., and everything's been greenlit, budget's probably been approved, all of that good jazz, right? Concepts in stone. The game has officially been given the green light to actually start development of some sort. Now, is this full development? No. And no, I say no as in probably not, or not as in likely, because what we know, and this is any games developer out there, but Bethesda Game Studios, even if they're working on a game, like even if they have the current main game, let's say that's Starfield in this case, and Elder Scrolls 6 as well, they still do like to do other stuff on the side, and in particular, they like to start pre-production on upcoming projects. So there might not be a full team if this is actually true and being greenlit. There might not be a completely huge full team on Fallout 5, right? It might just be a few people here and there. It might just be a few people here and there when they have the chance to kind of work out some stuff. Also, it might be greenlit to actually start pre-production and production at a certain date, right? Just because it's been greenlit doesn't mean work is starting right now. All that means is that it's going to happen at some stage. Everyone's given the go-ahead. And at some stage, pre-production, if it hasn't already begun, pre-production will begin, then production, then full development, and yada, 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 game comes out, right? So we shouldn't be surprised, but that's what essentially very roughly and at a top level greenlighting is. So we can be pretty certain at some stage in our freaking lives that Fallout 5 is going to be real. Now, who the hell is bloody developing this thing? That is like the million-dollar question, because we've long talked about on this channel, Bethesda's the game studios in particular, they're doing too much, all right? They're doing too much for the little studio that they are. They're a big studio, like they're AAA, but they're not like some AAAs out there, likes of Epic Games and all that have thousands of employees. That's just not Bethesda. We're talking in the hundreds, right? Whatever, it's 300, 400, whatever they are at the moment. Maybe it's up to 500 now. But they're not like a massive, massive studio. And they're working on very big, grand, complex games and multiple stuff at the same time. Starfield DLC. Who knows what's happening with Starfield? But they're probably working on Starfield DLC right now. Elder Scrolls 6. We know that that's a big project and they're moving on to that. That's going to be the next big game that they release. They've probably got some other small stuff here and there. They always do, whether it's like a Fallout mobile game, like Fallout Shelter, right? Todd has always talked about how we're always working on something small. So they've got all this stuff going on, and now Fallout 5 has been greenlit. So is it them that's going to make it? It's such a tough one. I would like to say that Fallout has become BGS's and Todd's baby. I can't see anyone else making Fallout 5. That's my honest answer. I can't see, and it's a difficult one because Todd might actually be retired by the time they start full development on Fallout 5, right? But it's not just Todd at stake here. It's everyone in Bethesda Game Studios that loves Fallout, that cherishes it, that wants to develop the next big game for it. I don't see BGS giving up the reins for Fallout 5. Unless Xbox and Mothership Microsoft have come in and said, we need this bloody game out the door, or it needs to start development. You need to work out something. Work out something where you can make a Fallout game, or someone can make a Fallout game while you're doing your thing. So maybe Microsoft can come in and be like, you need to make Fallout 5, figure out a way, I'll give it to someone else. And I just think that they have maybe just figured out a way where they could do it themselves. I just don't see, unless it's a Fallout spin-off or like a remaster, a la Oblivion remaster with Virtuous Studios, unless they figured out a spin-off or a remaster, I just don't see them giving up the reins to Fallout 5. But if that is the case, how can they possibly work on the game when they're still doing Starfield DLC and they're obviously working on Elder Scrolls 6 and they got all this stuff going on? Is it actually practically possible? Maybe they're going on a hiring spree. That takes time. Hiring isn't easy, especially at scale. So my guess right now is that they are going to work on Fallout 5, but it's just going to be so bloody far away. As I said, green lighting doesn't necessarily mean we're starting development right now. Pre-production, everyone drop your freaking pencils and start working on Fallout 5. I don't think that's what it means, right? At some stage, the project has been greenlit, and at some stage, they'll start to really ramp up on it. But that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the track. Who the hell bloody knows? But Elder Scrolls 6 is their next big project, and that game is going to be massive. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of energy and resources. And if they're going to stick with working on Fallout 5, we are not seeing Fallout 5, in my humble opinion. Let's say best case scenario, Elder Scrolls 6 comes out next year. Next year, not this year. That's too soon. Next year. Even that is a stretch. But even if it comes out next year, you're talking Fallout 5, maybe 4 to 5 years after that. We're talking 2020 plus. I might actually be close to my 40s, if not in my 40s, by the time Fallout 5 comes out. So even though it's been greenlit, it is probably a long time away. There is every chance if Microsoft has pushed hard enough that it's not BGS working on Fallout 5 and it's another studio, or maybe they'll have some help and like BGS is kind of overseeing everything, and then you got another studio really working on the crux, the coding, the art, concepting, all that kind of stuff. Now let's continue in this article because it says, as Cordon explains, MMOs are expensive to build and have to compete with established games like World of Warcraft and even ZeniMax's own The Elder Scrolls Online. With that in mind, Microsoft made the decision to cancel ZeniMax's unannounced project and invest that money into Fallout, an established IP that would more likely be, quote, a surefire win. From what I heard, it was a case of, do we want to sink a ton of money into getting this Project Blackbird to a point where it can compete with the established players in the market, or do we want to allocate that investment towards making Fallout 5, Cordon said. Now, I want to stop at this point in the story and chat about it because this is what is really peculiar to me. ZeniMax Online Studios and Bethesda Game Studios are two completely different studios. Yes, they are within the ZeniMax family, the broader ZeniMax Bethesda family, and obviously they both sit within Microsoft, but they're still two different studios. This is not that, oh, instead of BGS working on this one random project, we're going to redistribute your budget BGS that you already had into Fallout 5, which you were going to make anyways, right? That's not what this is implying. What this is saying is that a completely different studio, yes, still within the family, but a different studio is having their budget taken away and being given to a different studio within the same family so they can make their own game. So the question is, what is going on with ZeniMax Online Studios, right? Obviously, the MMO was cancelled, so cancelled, they can't do that, seemingly cancelled anyways, so they're going to have to move on to something else. But not only that, where's their budget now? Like, where was that budget that they had? Does that mean ZeniMax Online Studios just works on the Elder Scrolls Online indefinitely? Because it is a huge success. Like, ZOS has made such a successful game with the Elder Scrolls Online. Every year it has updates. Yes, not everyone's happy with it, but it's a quite successful MMO, one of the more successful MMOs out there, right? So yeah, they could become a studio that just works on the Elder Scrolls Online. But if that budget has been gone somewhere, there's an argument that ZOS could actually help with Fallout 5. That actually might be what's going on here, because if ZOS is not working on their cancelled project because it's now no longer a thing, and if they don't have that budget there, they're going to have to follow the budget and the plans and the green light somewhere, and the only thing seemingly available that's in close proximity to them is Fallout 5. Does ZOS have anything else that's cooking? Does ZOS have another project that's unannounced, that they're working on, that the rest of the team that were on that cancelled MMO can kind of move on to? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like they just have the Elder Scrolls Online. So that team's got to do something. That budget's got to be used on someone, on a group of people. Maybe ZOS is actually helping with Fallout 5. Maybe, this is my crazy idea, maybe BGS and ZOS are going to team up to make Fallout 5 and get that out the door sooner. I don't know how much I believe this, but like, it's because not everyone at ZOS has been made redundant, right? There's still a big team working on there, but the team is probably bigger than what it needs to be to work on the Elder Scrolls Online, especially if they want to start ramping that game down. It's been out for so many bloody years. At some stage, it's going to reach its shelf life. So you can't have a bunch of people sitting around. They need to be used somewhere. So if they follow the budget to Fallout 5, they might actually work on that game. Let me know what you think about that, because like, don't get me wrong, I think ZOS has done a great job with the Elder Scrolls Online, and if they're working with BGS, a lot of their experiences and skills and knowledge and everything can be transferred over to Fallout 5. It might not be a bad idea, and it might help a little bit get the project out faster. It might mean that to some extent, Fallout 5 full development is in concurrent to actual full development on the Elder Scrolls 6. Do you know what I'm saying? So that might be the way that Todd Howard has compromised here and said, look, I don't want anyone outside of the ZeniMax family to work on Fallout 5. I want it to be in-house. We don't have enough people at BGS, but we have ZOS, and we're friends with them. We're close with them. We're both under ZeniMax. We both consider ourselves in the Bethesda family. They might be the next big shout. And people keep talking about, what about Obsidian? Like, Obsidian's making 5 different projects. They released Avowed this year. Outer Worlds 2 was coming. I'm pretty sure that was something else. Pentamed, Grounded. They're doing so much stuff. I don't think Obsidian has the time. And then I'm looking at everyone else like, this might not actually be a bad shout, especially if that cancelled project was actually cancelled, right? Because we've just seen leaks around that. I'm not too sure if that's actually real. But if it has been cancelled, they need to do something. Fallout 5 is right there. So I think that could be a possibility. And then it still opens up the likes of Virtuous to do a Fallout 3 remaster. Maybe even a Fallout New Vegas remaster. I know everyone wants to see that. Maybe it still opens up a Fallout New Vegas 2 style spin-off to be made by another studio. Maybe Microsoft are gonna sit down Obsidian at some stage and be like, look, you did your best with Avowed. Outer Worlds 2 did its thing. We need you to work on Fallout. We need you to work on the pre-established franchise. Fallout New Vegas 2 is like, I can't think of a more surefire hit than Fallout New Vegas 2. So long as they do the game justice, it would like print money, and everyone in Xbox knows that, especially with the success of the TV show and all that kind of jazz. So I'm feeling good about that. However, last bit about this story. The article goes on to say it is worth noting that Cordon states he doesn't have enough information to write a full story about Fallout 5 or who may be developing it. So it's worth taking the information above with a grain of salt. Jez has said this stuff before, like, essentially, if you listen to his Xbox 2 podcast a lot, sometimes he'll drop nuggets of rumors and leaks that he's been hearing, but he hasn't been hearing them enough from enough sources to corroborate it and actually make a full article on Windows Central. When Jez makes an article on Windows Central, he essentially says, I have enough sources, I have enough trust that this is actually credible news, a credible leak, a credible rumor, that I can make a story about it, an article about it on Windows Central with confidence. If he doesn't have enough corroboration, if he doesn't have enough sources telling him the same or similar things, he won't write a story about it, but he might mention it on a podcast. This is what I've been hearing. I haven't been able to corroborate it yet, 100% and completely ensure that it's credible, but there's something there. I'll drop it here and I'll just say it's a rumor, take it with a grain of salt. So with that being said, we do need to take this with a grain of salt. I still vehemently believe that he has heard rumors about Fallout 5 and being greenlit and all this other stuff, right? I do believe that. But in terms of who might be developing the game, when they're going to start development, pre-production, development, like what happens with ZeniMax Online Studios, we need to settle. I know that I've speculated a lot in this video. Trust me, I know. I'm just getting excited. But we can't draw firm conclusions until someone like the likes of Jez Cordon or whoever come out with an article and says, Fallout 5, it's being greenlit, developed by this studio in conjunction with whoever. It might be targeting this year, blah, 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 blah. Or maybe we get another court case and all those documents come out again. Do you see what I mean? So we should just take this as fun speculation, as a slight, subtle, not so official, but somewhat confirmation that Fallout 5 is obviously real and that it exists in some form. We know that anyways, but this is just a little notch to say it's coming along maybe. And then we don't take it more than that, right? But I'm just excited, man, because there's not many opportunities to talk about Fallout news so much on the channel at the moment. Yes, we got the Fallout TV show season coming, I think, later this year in December. Maybe we'll get a Fallout 3 remaster, maybe a Fallout New Vegas remaster with Virtuous. But whenever there's Fallout 5 news to talk about, you know that I'm going to be here doing it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.